Guest. I'm Clarissa Williams, President and Publisher of SJR and SJR New Media Group. We are partnering with WMAY tonight to bring you the mayoral debate. I'd like to acknowledge my friend Mark Birch. Mark is the General Manager of Midwest Family Broadcasting and WMAY. Tonight's debate gives us the opportunity to hear from the candidates direct. We'd like to thank you for joining us tonight, whether you're here or in our community unity room, or watching or listening to us live on sjr.com or WMAY. Being here tonight shows how important it is to move Springfield forward. If you haven't already done so, I'd like to remind you to silence your cell phone. And as a courtesy, please remember that if you're taking photos up here, those in the back cannot see. So I will ask you to refrain from doing that. The order in which the candidates speak tonight was determined by a random drawing. They will have 1 minute for an opening statement, 1 minute for questions, and 90 seconds for closing remarks. They will be given a 15-second warning as their time runs out. Now I'm going to introduce our panelists this evening. Jim Leach, sitting in front of me, is WMAY's news director. He's been at WMAY full-time since 1995 and began his daily talk show in '96. He's a lifelong Springfield resident. Bernie Schoenberg has been with the paper as our political writer for 22 years. A couple of people think he knows a little bit about political. Jaya Belinsky is our editorial page editor. She has been in that position for 2 years, but she's been a beat reporter with the paper since 2001. Now I'd like to introduce our moderator tonight, an Illinois native, executive editor, Angie Muse.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. It's my pleasure to welcome the candidates and once again to publicly thank all of them for taking time out of their busy campaign schedules to be with us tonight. Beginning at the far end of the table, Mayor Mike Houston, Alderwoman Gail Simpson, Sangamon County Auditor Paul Palazzolo, Treasurer Jim Langfelder, and community activist Samuel Johnson. And now I will turn it over to our, yes, please give them a round of applause. And now I will turn it over to our panel and we will get started.
We're going to ask each of the candidates to make an opening statement, and we'll start with Mayor Houston.
This is Mayor Mike Houston. Let me ask a question. Is the city of Springfield better off today than it was 4 years ago? In 2011, city government was a mess. It was being run as a political operation. The average daily balance in the checking account, which pays for all the basic services, was in the red. Our streets were in deplorable shape. Today, city government has been downsized, runs more efficiently, and runs more professionally. There has been a $12 million turnaround in the city's checkbook in 4 years. We have embarked on a 3-year, $86.6 million infrastructure program to fix our streets and sidewalks. We have started a long-term $100 million program to rehabilitate our sewers. We have made major progress in moving the 3rd Street Railroad tracks to the 10th Street corridor. Is the city of Springfield better off than it was 4 years ago? There is no question it is. I am Mayor Mike Houston, and I'm asking for your vote.
Alderman Simpson.
Good evening. I want to be your mayor because Springfield deserves a committed, experienced, and visionary leader with knowledge and the resolve to turn that vision into the promise of a better and more inclusive city. My vision is not new. When I ran for alderman in 2007, I spoke about many of the issues that these candidates are just now raising. Empty promises have been the status quo in Springfield, and we cannot continue doing what we're doing and expect a different result. I am running to make sure that confidence in leadership is restored, residents are re-engaged, and Springfield becomes a regional center for economic development. A strong, viable, and thriving Springfield will be a beneficial enhancement and enhance the quality of life for all of Springfield. My 8 years automatic experience working for the residents of Springfield, my background in human resources and management, coupled with a master's degree in law enforcement, prepared me with the necessary tools to be a strong and effective voice as mayor of the city of Springfield. I am decisive and will stand up and fight for issues important to our city, and I work collectively with the aldermen to ensure that we are addressing every need in this city. I'm Gail Simpson, and I wish you would consider me for mayor, city of Springfield. Thank you.
Mr. Palazzolo.
Thank you, Jayette, and thanks to the State Journal Register and WMAY for hosting the event tonight. Indeed, it is time to move Springfield forward. It's time for our city to open its next chapter. I'm offering myself to the citizens of Springfield as a leader who can bring a track record of results from my service at the county level. Having served as county auditor for the last 12 years, I've had a chance to see how it can be a government that delivers services responsibly and in a culture of fiscal responsibility. I'll bring new ideas and plans. I'll efficiently and effectively deliver the services that we need to have a great city. And I'll offer a vision that the team at the city and that our fellow residents can look toward and work toward as we move forward with the city's brighter and better future.
Mr. Langfelder.
Thank you. I decided to run for mayor because Springfield is at a crossroad. The current state of the city is not good enough. We can and must do better. Our community is like a family. When one is suffering, we all suffer. We need to work together so Springfield can reach its fullest potential educationally, economically, and recreationally. Being the home of our greatest president, Abraham Lincoln, Springfield should be the model city for others to follow. In order to be the model city, we must have a strong foundation built on trust. City government must be trusted to do what is best for Springfield. My 14 years in banking and 12 years as your city treasurer has been built on trust and openness. I will bring my lifelong experience of trust, integrity, and doing what is best to the mayor's office. As mayor, I will bring our community together so Springfield is the model city for others to follow, especially with race relations, economic development, CWLP, and most importantly, trust in our city government. I'm Jim Langfelder, and I would appreciate your vote on Tuesday, February 24th, or any time prior to that date. Thank you.
Mr. Johnson.
My name is Samuel Johnson, but I will not be speaking from I tonight because it is going to take us as a whole to be able to move Springfield forward. We are definitely at a crossroads. Samuel Johnson can be in the mayor's seat, but that doesn't mean that Samuel Johnson is going to change the city and be able to move it forward. It's going to take us as a collective bargain to be able to move it forward to ensure a better future for our youth. A lot of people in here today are of the older generation who at some point in time, you will be going to another place. I'm of the middle generation, or where I will be filling your shoes and trying to open up doors for young people. But the question is, Springfield has been moving forward for years and decades, but how long has it been moving forward with everybody? Everybody has not been able to move forward with the people. It's time, at a point in time, that we have to come together and we have to be able to move Springfield forward in the right direction for the future, first and foremost, for our children.
Thank you. We'll start with our first question, and it'll go to Mr. Houston. Excuse me, Mayor Houston. The city of Springfield has studied the idea of a second lake for at least 50 years and spent millions of taxpayer dollars on the project. Would you continue to devote time and resources to Hunter Lake, and why or why not?
The answer to that question is yes. I am a supporter of Hunter Lake. The city of Springfield has spent approximately $30 million thus far. $20 million to acquire land and about $10 million for various studies as well as staff time. The city of Springfield needs an alternative water supply. What we need is a permit from the Army Corps of Engineers and the EPA in order to do that. If we are not able to build a second lake, we are still going to need an alternative water supply. And any alternative water supply is probably going to cost more than building Hunter Lake. Hunter Lake, to me, provides the best solution for that alternative water supply in that it will keep Lake Springfield 1 at full pool if you go into a drought. And our problems always happen once we're into a drought, that we put in our restrictions and the lake has already dropped.
Alderman Simpson.
Thank you. This question is just not now surfacing. In 2007, when I ran, that very question was asked, would I be in favor of Hunter Lake? I absolutely will. Springfield needs a second water source. We can't continue to rely just on Lake Springfield. Droughts are going to happen, and we're getting really close to where we could be very close to, in Springfield, suffering a drought. Studies have been done that indicate other sources of water aren't adequate to deal with our needs. So we need to look at Hunter Lake. We need to continue to pursue that effort. We need to make sure that we're doing everything within our power to make sure that that happens.
Mr. Palazzolo.
At the risk of sounding redundant, I am also in favor of a laser focus on moving forward on Hunter Lake. And I believe we need to begin the process of working with those elected officials at the federal level, our two U.S. senators and Congressman Schock and Congressman Davis, to help us shepherd through the process as quickly as possible. But indeed, if the initial results that we receive are negative, again, we need to also, while we're shepherding with federal level officials, we need to continue looking at additional sources for secondary water supplies, so that if the answer is indeed again negative, we've already made progress on additional ways to have that second water source that we definitely need.
Mr. Langfelder.
Having a second water source is crucial for our economic development and survival. The importance of water we see today with Chatham, what they're experiencing. We must move forward with Hunter Lake. And going further with studies, we've done the studies on the gravel pit. And actually, when the City Council voted in 2009 to purchase the gravel pit, I submitted a memo to the City Council explaining what has been done previously and some of the concerns I had as City Treasurer with regards to that purchase. What we need to do is move forward collectively as a community, like we did with the high-speed rail, work with our state and federal officials to move Hunter Lake on the fast track.
And Mr. Johnson.
I am in favor that Hunter Lake definitely needs to be developed. It needs to be a progress that we need to be working on ASAP. I'll say, for example, I know some residents out on the west side of town who get hard water when they take showers that affects their skin to a certain degree. I don't know if I have not seen too many talks on that, but if you look a little further into the situation, you can see some of the effects of the water, not having that second water, of some of the effects that it is doing to human development of people when they have showers. So yes, I am in favor of it, that it needs to be done.
Candidates, our next question will go first to Alderman Gail Simpson. New Governor Bruce Rauner has proposed the creation of right-to-work zones. He calls them employee empowerment zones at the local level. He also today signed an executive order that would ban fair share payments by state workers who don't wish to join the union. Would you support similar activities affecting either Springfield City employees or the establishment of a right-to-work zone for the city at large? Alderman Simpson.
I would not. I don't think right-to-work zones serve a real valuable purpose. And Governor Rauner's move today, I think, sends the wrong message. Unions serve a important purpose in this country, and that's historical. I don't believe that employees who are not members of unions should reap the benefit of unions, that the benefit that unions provide, and they're not members. It's not fair. I'm a member of a union. I pay dues because I think that that's a way of supporting the unions, and then if there's an issue at work, I expect the unions to work for me. If I don't pay dues, I shouldn't have that same expectation. So, no, I'm not in favor of right-to-work zones.
Auditor Palazzolo.
Ultimately, we have to judge the fairness of the governor's executive order and his proposal on right-to-work zones. And if indeed they're not going to be of any benefit to not only the employees of the state of Illinois or employees in Illinois, we just have to see if there's any value in how that program plays itself out. I don't believe that it will have any opportunity to be of value for employees of the city of Springfield, but I think it deserves an opportunity to see how he can collaborate with the legislature to effectively initiate these programs and see how they work.
Treasurer Langfelder.
I'm not in favor of work zones. The reason that came about is due to inefficient operations of the state. And what we need to do is operate efficiently, but we also need to improve our economy. With an improved economy, I think all these concerns go away. That's why I introduced to develop targeted employment sectors that would best match our community resources with our community so we can provide and attract and retain businesses and expand those businesses so we can provide and create living wage jobs. That's what it's all about, is living wage jobs. And one of the employment sectors that I would focus on is with education, where we would improve our quality workforce by educating those individuals and training them in the trades, so we will have a qualified workforce that would fulfill these living wage jobs that would be created under my plan.
The question again is about local right-to-work zones and also a move to end requirements of fair share payments from workers who don't support the union. Samuel Johnson, your thoughts on those initiatives?
I have looked at it and I see the pros and cons to it. I wouldn't say that I'm in favor, but I won't say that I would not support it either. I know a lot of people, because of unions, they don't want to go against unions because of how powerful they are. But as I have told the unions, that if it's anything that I see that can help the people overall, that I will stand with the people first before I stand with any other organization, because it's about the people first. The right to work state as well can help poverty classes of people who can't get the same type of contracts or who cannot bid against unions to be able to get jobs and open up jobs for other people as well. So I think that it's something that we have to look a little closer at and see, can it help people overall, or is it going to just be able to help a certain group of people that has been in power for X amount of years?
And finally, Mayor Mike Houston.
As a home rule unit of government, the city of Springfield could implement right-to-work rules at any time. In the time I have been in office, I've never been approached about right to work in the city of Springfield prior to the time that Governor Rauner made his comments just recently in the last couple of weeks. So there certainly does not appear to be any type of demand for this. I also think that given the nature of the city of Springfield, which we're talking about here, that there really is no need for that, nor would I see the benefits of doing that. Therefore, I would have no interest in proposing it or supporting it.
Next question starts with Auditor Palazzolo. Please describe for us, in your view, what a visitor to Springfield should find 10 years from now in 2025.
A visitor to Springfield hopefully will have arrived here as part of a convention or a meeting that we will have worked hard to attract on an annual or a regular basis. That person will find opportunities for enjoying downtown Springfield, as well as other parts of the city that will have attracted them for either tourist opportunities or meeting opportunities and recreational opportunities that we will have offered for bringing new tourists to the city of Springfield. So we need to aggressively market the city and what it can bring for not only tourists on their own for a weekend event, but also any kind of conventions that we can attract to the city of Springfield. As an individual on a volunteer basis who's been involved with a lot of meetings and conventions, I kind of know what individuals and groups are looking for in that regard, and I'd like to apply some of those talents and skills that I have and knowledge that I have to help us bring Springfield to a level of attractiveness that will bring additional meetings to the city and annual conventions on a regular basis.
Treasurer Langfelder?
As mayor, my goal is to have Springfield be the model city, where everybody is welcomed. We have a strong family organization, or a community, I should say, but a vibrant community that has a cohesive zoning where we do have broad-based planning for our city, so we have some logic with our progression as far as development goes. The other thing that I would put in place is a central Wi-Fi zone, and hopefully if it's affordable, we would have a Wi-Fi zone throughout the city. What we need to do is take advantage of our current resources, especially with CWLP's fiber optic system, to use it to our best advantage as much as possible, and hopefully have Lake 2.
Mr. Johnson, what will they find here in 2025?
In 2025, I will try to follow the path of the great author, Rachel Lindsay, who talked about Golden Springfield, who had a vision that Springfield could come together and be able to have economic growth and development that can empower cultures across the board. Being able to use our fiber optic to the best ability as possible and maximize on it can turn us into a technology city, where we have over 60% of the population is between the ages of 18 to 55 years old. But for the majority of that population, they have no reason to want to stay here. So if they have no reason to want to stay here, neither would people that would come to visit Springfield would have a thought of wanting to stay here as well either. I want, when you come to Springfield, Illinois, that you see this city as a city that you want to be able to move to, because you see opportunity here and not just certain opportunities in certain areas. So in that year of time, I would like to see it looking like the Golden Springfield, influencing other cities.
Mayor Houston.
One of the things that, as we look at Springfield today, we attract more than 1 million visitors who come either to visit the Lincoln sites or that come for conventions and meetings here in town. We need to continue to work on the major asset that we have, which is Abraham Lincoln, as well as the Dana Thomas House. But as we look at those venues, what we need to do is to enhance the venues to the point where people are actually spending multiple nights within the city of Springfield. The major problem we have today with our visitor business is we have so many of our visitors come to the community and they're here during the day, but they spend the night someplace else. From an economic development point of view, you want people spending their nights here, so we need to enhance and encourage and have things here that will keep people overnight. New Salem is one of those things that really needs to be promoted more than it is.
Alderman Simpson.
Thank you. 10 years from now, we'll see a very colorful, vibrant downtown. A downtown that gives visitors a wow factor. They'll come here, they'll first stop at the Kizim, and that gives plenty of wow. That will have been operating for at least 8 years. There will be a number of restaurants that provide a lot of variety. There'll be retail that allows for tourists to experience what perhaps other cities don't give them downtown. One of the great things about downtown that's missing, everybody has a cell phone. There's nothing downtown that allows for visitors to get any kind of equipment with regard to their cell phones. That just shouldn't happen. There needs to be art. People enjoy art. There should be some place to buy art. There are many artists, young artists in Springfield. There should be a place to display their art so that they can sell it. Also, we need to get beyond just Abraham Lincoln.
Springfield's public library primarily is funded through a telecommunications tax, which in 2015 happens to be a declining source of revenue. Is this the best way to fund the library? And if not, what is a better approach? Mr. Langfelder.
Well, the better approach was through property taxes. At one time, property taxes funded many things, along with the library, municipal band. Unfortunately, with the pension obligations, $20 million plus of property taxes goes towards pensions and retirements. So in answer to the question, through a vibrant community, we'll have to, I think the best mechanism is to be able to provide for those services through the corporate fund. That way, you don't have to worry about revenue. You already allocate what's needed for the library, because the library is important to our community, not only from an educational standpoint, but it is a place where individuals gather. We have meetings there, and it's important to maintain our library as best as possible.
Samuel Johnson.
I would have to agree with Mr. Langfelder. The property tax would definitely have to be a area that we would have to look at for it to make sense for the library, as well as the library needs a little more brightening up to it. Last time I've been to the library, I seen the majority of where the homeless people hang out at. I know when I was young, I used to go to the library to learn. I don't see kids going there to learn or to educate themselves in no form or fashion. So I would have to agree with that. The property tax and the corporate fund would definitely be the best way to go, to be honest.
Mayor Houston.
As you look at the library, it is a very important asset to the community and a resource for the people that use it. It needs to be funded through the corporate fund, in addition to what it is receiving through the telecommunication tax. One of the things that we have been able to do under my administration is to add hours at the library. Currently, the library has undergone a remodeling of the third floor. We are in the process of doing remodeling in the second floor at the current time. It is just as we put together our priorities in city government, library has to be one of those priorities, and it needs to be funded so that it can provide the services to the people that are in need. And for anybody that has not been to the library recently, I would certainly invite you to go in and take a look at it. It's really changed over the last couple of years.
Alderman Simpson.
Anybody who's followed me on the council knows that I have been a staunch proponent of corporate funding for the library. I believe the library serves a unique purpose throughout this community. We closed the branches. I was against that, but we closed the branches for fiscal purposes. So all we have left now is our downtown facility. We need to make sure that the hours are such that people, our seniors, our students, are able to use the library when they need to, when they want to. That funding should come from the corporate side, without question. I'm a little bit perplexed because that's not what's happening as we speak. There's not been any effort to provide additional funding for the library.
Mr. Palazzolo.
I would be a huge proponent of looking for additional ways that we can get funds for the library. Originally, it was a Carnegie library. Indeed, it was funded by private resources to get it off the ground. Why can't we look to, as Alderman Simpson alluded to, corporate funding, sponsorship funding? I believe that if we can reach out to not only local firms and businesses that would be interested in playing a part in the library's blossoming and success, I think we need to expand beyond the city of Springfield's borders to see what other entities might be interested in helping the library be successful. And there's so many things there at the library, the Sangamon Valley Collection, the opportunities to find publications and videos that are not available currently. I think we need to market a little bit more about what the library can offer and what it can be to not only students, but individuals and families who would like to take advantage of everything that the library offers. We need to raise the awareness level of everything that our Lincoln Library can be.
Our next question has to do with crime, and of course, as with all cities, Springfield size, crime is a factor here, particularly in some areas of town. Please outline your specific strategies for trying to lower that crime rate and make the streets of Springfield safer for everyone. We'll start with Samuel Johnson.
You have to be able to do some of the things that we normally don't want to do. and that's spending time to educate somebody. We're within a systematic structure that enhances crime situations through poverty. Through this whole campaign, I have not heard, outside of myself, anybody really talking about the poverty perspective. Poverty erupts and brings crime when you are already born in poverty. We're talking about certain sides of town. We already know that it's majority of the east side and certain percentage of the north side. The question is what tactics or what kind of programs or things are we putting in place to be able to decrease poverty perspectives, which will help the crime areas? You have to be able to educate a person, and you can't just educate it through school. It goes further than that. You have to be able to put in specific education forms to mentally educate the mind of a human being through human development, which is another form of economic development.
Mayor Houston?
When we deal with crime, basically what we're dealing with is the deployment of resources. The City of Springfield, the largest department in the corporate fund, is our police department. We have an authorized strength of 249 officers. We deploy those officers based on what is taking place within the City of Springfield, so that as you look at where you have criminal activity and problems, that is where you are deploying your resources. You deploy those resources based on the time of day that things are taking place, and you react to situations that you have. I would point out that at one point here recently, we had a situation where we were having a number of shootings. We deployed our resources. We brought in additional resources from the U.S. Attorney's Office to the U.S. Marshal's Office to the FBI to the state police, and was able to do a deployment that really took care of the problem and stopped it.
Alderman Simpson.
Thank you. Let me be clear, there is crime all over the city of Springfield. What happens, I believe, in the city is that the media, when there's an incident in East Springfield, the media decides, oh, we've got a shooting in East Springfield, we've got a burglary on the east side. However, when those incidents occur on other parts of the city, you give sign coordinates, or you say, you don't say the west side, or you don't say the south side, and that contributes to a situation where people believe that crime only happens on the east side of Springfield. A lot of what drives crime, I believe, is people who don't have jobs. So we need to work on job creation. Community policing in its purest sense, where police get back on the street, go door to door, so that when something happens in the city, people aren't looked upon as snitches. They are building a relationship with the police.
Auditor Palazzolo.
Tomorrow, indeed, we'll be announcing our initiative on crime and looking at that, and so we'll be announcing that tomorrow. But let me just highlight on some of those. First of all, as the Alderman alluded to, economic development. It's important for opportunities to exist so that when there are job opportunities and individuals do not have to rely on crime to provide for their families or otherwise, that helps reduce the crime rate. Secondly, we need to look at strategies and working with programs like Ceasefire. The Urban League, of which I was a board member for 6 years here in Springfield, is funding the Ceasefire program currently, and I believe that they are working hard and making progress toward working and establishing ways to reduce crime. The Alderman, again, is right. Crime is everywhere, and one of the things I'd like to reestablish with the police department as mayor is the Neighborhood Watch program, and perhaps as mayor, leading from the bully pulpit to get people excited about resurrecting neighborhood watch opportunities, and community policing is important as well. We need to work on that as well with the neighborhood watch program simultaneously.
And finally, Treasurer Langfelder.
Thank you. As mayor, what I would do is change the culture of city government. What we need to do is work with our community to build the level of trust, especially on high crime-ridden areas. We don't want police just going in there. We want them to be a partner with our community. Same with other departments like Public Works. When we go into our community, what we should be doing is working with our neighborhood organizations to find out their needs. And one of the initiatives I would have is working with each alderman and the wards to develop ward programs as far as a ward strategic plan that would analyze our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in each individual ward. Then I would also have a retreat with the city council so we can develop a long-range plan for citywide goals. But I think we need to build the level of trust in especially our crime-ridden areas and emphasize community policing and establish home ownership programs like the one I have introduced previously.
This one, if I'm right, goes to the mayor first. Are you open to raising city water, light, and power rates if needed to stabilize the utilities' finances? Why or why not?
The answer to that question is yes. I was asked that question 4 years ago as a candidate, and the answer at that time was yes. As we look at city water, light, and power, it is an asset where we have over $1 billion of assets at the power plant. It is something that's very valuable to the community. As you look at CWLP, one of the things that you have to realize is we have a water division, we have an electric division. The water division has been operating very, very well. The electric division is having problems based on the price of wholesale electricity across the country. I think there are things that we can do that we are looking at right now, such as looking at a possible refinancing of debt to improve our cash flow. We also have a major contract that's coming up, and when we renegotiate that contract, we'll be looking to be able to lower cost.
Alderman Simpson.
At this point, I'm not in favor of raising rates for CWLP. We have too often, within the last 10 years, gone to the ratepayers, asking them to pay for inadequacies that we have not dealt with. There needs to be more transparency at CWLP. We need to look at our internal process to make sure that every single thing that we do is streamlined. We need to eliminate waste, and I get calls from employees all the time talking about waste, talking about tools that are purchased. And now, with the advent of the, help me out, Mayor.
Typewriter.
Typewriter. That's funny. You gotta hold it.
Give you a better idea and I'll help you.
No, not with the Inspector General. Anyway, I lost my train of thought, but anyway, bear with me. But anyway, we need to make sure that we're looking at every control that we can in terms of positions out at the plant to make sure that every single dime is accounted for.
Auditor Palazzolo.
As a candidate, I've worked hard to lead the conversation about helping shore up CWLP, and I would not be in favor of a rate increase during the opportunity years that I would have a chance to serve. We have to keep rates low for the utility. If we're going to attract businesses, if we're going to attract additional customers and additional residents for the city and families, we have to maintain CWLP as a low-rate way to enjoy the utility and what it offers. There are a number of ways that I've worked hard to communicate about how we do this. We need to bring back an entrepreneurial general manager to the utility to help with the leadership of the utility. We need to appoint, in concert with the city council, a volunteer advisory board in the same way that any major corporation has a board of directors. And then we need to gradually wean ourselves off of the payment in lieu of taxes diversion that we see going to the corporate fund from CWLP's utility. We have to keep rates low, and I would not be in favor of raising any rates during the years that I have a chance to serve as mayor.
Treasurer Langfelder.
I would not be in favor of raising utility rates either, or I'm not in favor of an entrepreneurial general manager. In 1998, CWLP lost over $50 million in a power marketing scandal, and I don't think CWLP has recovered from that. What we need to do is open up the books to CWLP. What we need to do is audit the CWLP contracts, especially with regards to wind energy, and if those are unfair contracts, we should renegotiate those contracts or cancel them. We also need to pursue the memorandum of understanding with the state of Illinois, where they would purchase a portion of our wind energy. And we need to analyze our CWLP services that are being provided to the corporate fund And lastly, I would re-examine the CWLP pilot that was presented from the Blue Ribbon Panel, and it was in place or approved by the City Council to provide for the unfunded liability of police and fire pension funds, and that has not taken place to that degree, so I would reanalyze that pilot payment from CWLP to the corporate fund.
Mr. Johnson.
Well, I kind of knew what Jim was going to say. It looks like it's all going in order, so I'll still say what I'm going to say. I will audit the hell out of CWLP before I do anything else first. I will audit them to see what is going on over there, where is money being lost. There's definitely something going on over there that does not make no sense. As well, the pilot plan, I look at that as a, I agree with Mr. Langfelder, and I as well as agree with Paul Palazello that we need to get off of it, but it's also a possibility that we might not need to get off of it, because figuring out which way that we need to go on it can open up a lot of investment ideas for the CWLP to be able to make more money in the future, as well lead us into a technology area. The fiber optic situation is very, very important to what we will do next in the future, Springfield, Illinois, and CWLP can play a big role in that. But I will first audit the hell out of them.
Thank you. Before I pass the microphone to Jet Belinsky for the next question, we said in the format earlier to all the candidates there would be a free minute to rebut anyone or make any points you think need to be made at this point. And we'll start with Alderman Simpson for your time.
First of all, I think everybody needs to understand that the mayor does not operate in a vacuum. There's nothing that any mayor has done in the city of Springfield since the aldermanic form of government that has not also had the cooperation and collaboration of the aldermen. The city aldermen can present ordinances and get them voted on. The mayor has to have at least 6 other aldermen to pass anything. We talk about the rail project, the consolidation, moving the tracks from 3rd to 10th Street. I was out front on the very beginning of that under the Dablin administration. Took a lot of heat from the community because I championed that. So to say that all of that's been accomplished under his watch, it's not totally true. He's not operating in a vacuum.
Auditor Palazzolo.
Throughout the campaign, I've been focusing on transparency and openness. As you may have heard me say, transparency leads to truth, and truth leads to trust. That's why during the campaign, I released 5 years' worth of our family's tax returns. I believe that's important for an elected official like the mayor of the city of Springfield to be open and transparent with personal finances. And as the county auditor, I was making sure that we had that transparency as well. Look at the situation in Dixon, Illinois, with their appointed controller, Rita Crundwell, who was stealing and siphoning $50 million away from the city of Dixon. If we had seen her tax returns, perhaps we'd have been able to see what was going on before it got too far along. So that's why I feel it's important that we are transparent and open, and I would encourage my fellow candidates to release their tax returns so that we can ensure the transparency that we deserve in the city of Springfield.
Treasurer Langfelder.
Thank you. When you presented that, I had 2 people, one being my treasurer, asked for my tax return, and one was a friend, but that was it. So I don't think the interest is there. We need to focus on important issues to Springfield, and one is residency. A couple of things. One, it does not limit job applicants. People can apply throughout the country for a city job. They are good living wage jobs and have great benefits. Right now, 100% of our property taxes goes towards retirements and pensions of city employees. So I believe that people that work for the city at these great jobs should live within the city. And there'd be a time period if someone comes and applies, if they're offered the job, they would have a grace period, probably 6 months at the most. But the other item is to move into the city. But the other item is with regards to union contracts, I think the unions get a bad rap in that regards because that should not have been a negotiable item in a union contract. It's best for the city that we have residency, and as your mayor, that's what I would do.
Mr. Johnson.
You have 140 million 140 million program going towards sidewalks, sewers, highways. We're able to put that money in some form of fashion towards that category. I'm still trying to figure out how can a city move forward, and we have not yet, in one election I have seen, and I'm pretty sure I can go back in history or more, we still have not addressed poverty. I'm talking about black poverty and I'm talking about white poverty. You cannot continue to move forward and have your city already on a certain level, and you have another part of your city that's on a level down here dealing with classes of people across the board, and we do not address poverty. In my 40-50 plan that I released today, I released a way that we can go about, if we can put $140 million towards infrastructure, then we can put $140 million 10-year program towards poverty to help classes of people to be able to empower the city of Springfield.
Mayor Houston.
I served as mayor from 1979 to 1987, and in the 24 years in between the time I was elected in 2011, I was in the banking business. I retired as the chairman, president, CEO of Town and Country Bank. I am the only person in this race who has actually done the job. I bring more than 25 years of CEO experience to what I do on a daily basis. If you think about the city of Springfield for a moment, we have 1,435 employees. Our total budget is $600 million. We have a city treasurer who has a department that has 12 people. We have a county auditor who has a department of 3 people, including himself. Having that CEO experience is something that is extremely important in terms of running this city and balancing budgets.
Okay. We'll continue. Next question goes to Mr. Palazzolo, and we're going to talk sewers. The city's in the midst of a 3-year sewer upgrade effort funded by sales tax and sewer rate increases. Is this an adequate effort given the magnitude of the problem and the age of the sewers? And what else, in your opinion, could be done to make more progress?
Well, I'm concerned a little bit about the current infrastructure effort going on with the sewers that are below the patching that's being done. I'm concerned that we might have to tear up some of the brand shiny new work that's being accomplished to address the issue below that and the cosmetic resurfacing that we're engaging in currently. I believe we need to be aware of and efficiently use the dollars that have been raised in this last term for the tax on sewers, and those need to be used wisely. I do want to use some of the time quickly to address Mike with regard to the number of employees that he mentioned. And Mike, you have it both ways in terms of the ability to say that you've managed 1,500 employees and then have events and incidents occur on your watch and indeed know nothing about it, as you claim in the State Journal Register. It's not the number of folks that you lead, it's the quality of leadership that you provide.
Mr. Langfelder.
I would keep in place the current funding structure for sewers. In addition to that, through my economic development plan, we would thrive as a community. And especially with the distressed areas of Springfield, that's what we need to do is redevelop our distressed areas so we not only help the city of Springfield for increased property taxes, sales tax revenue, but also the school district. But in addition to that, I would work with the Springfield Sanitary District so we can come up with a comprehensive plan to provide the best solution for our sewer situation.
Mr. Johnson.
As I was just talking on this situation, like I said, it's $140 million for 10 years, as I seen in Mayor Houston's interview that's going on. Not blaming you, Mayor, but as well, in that infrastructure, I think that it definitely has to go towards the areas that need it the most. I also had talked about being able to get grants where we can be able to get independent companies to be able to work with Public Works to work on that job. That way we be able to create more jobs again. But as well, I'm still going back on the $140 million, 10 years, and I still yet to see a package put together for poverty classes of people. But we can give $140 million to streets, roads, and sidewalks, but we can't give $140 million to people.
Mayor Houston.
Well, first of all, the three-year program is an $86.6 million program to deal with our streets and sidewalks. There is some sewer work in that, but that is the streets and sidewalk program. We also have a 10-year program to deal with sewers, and actually that is really a 30-year program where the city will be investing $100 million in the rehabilitation of sewers within the city of Springfield. And that is funded not through a sales tax, it is funded through a sewer tax. As we look at the sewer system within the city of Springfield, there really has been nothing done in a 20-year period in dealing with the sewers within the city of Springfield. And it is important that we deal with our infrastructure if we are going to have a long-term future. While you may not see sewers on a daily type of basis, if you're getting back up within your home or you have water standing in the street, it is a very serious problem within this community.
Alderman Simpson.
I think we need to be clear and that we should not put out misinformation. It is not $140 million. It is, like the mayor says, $86 million over a 3-year period. We all know in the city of Springfield, the older parts of the city, we're dealing with sewers that are at least 100 years old. While we've put money toward dealing with those issues, certainly it's not enough. At some point, we're going to have to increase and go to the citizens and ask them for additional monies to deal with our sewers. But the key is to make sure that we ease them into it and help them understand the importance of what will happen if we don't do something about a 100-year-old system of sewers.
We want to thank again those who are listening at home on News Talk 970 WMAY Springfield or taking this in at WMAY.com and SJ-R.com. Our next question has to do with the situations, including the controversy that became known as Shredgate, that led Alderman to reestablish the Inspector General position. Is the Inspector General needed, and is it the most efficient use of city resources for city government to police itself? And this question goes first to Treasurer Langfelder.
I believe the Inspector General position came about because of Shredgate. I don't think it's needed under a Langfelder administration. Just as I have been doing as treasurer, I'd have an open door policy. I would have a better working relationship with the city council and the public as far as that goes. I would also establish a process where when individuals request public information, we provide it expeditiously without going to have to file a Freedom of Information Act request. I think that's, we're here to serve the public. We should be providing that information as expeditiously as possible. And then also, I would limit executive sessions. The business of city should be in the city council chambers, and as your mayor, I would limit executive sessions with regards to that.
Samuel Johnson.
Can you repeat that, Coach?
The question is again, is an Inspector General needed? Is it the most cost-effective way for city government to police itself?
To an extent not. I think we definitely have to have more open transparency with the FOIA requests, but I know myself, I have experienced with dealing with FOIA requests, dealing with police situations and things. When you turn in your information, a lot of times things just kind of get put to the wayside. A lot of reasons why a lot of people do not want to even go out and I guess you could say press charges on certain situations, dealing with the police or whatnot. It's not really a good, it's not really you really don't get treated too good when you're going to the, I lost train of thought.
Internal Affairs.
Internal Affairs, thank you very much, Mr. Leach. Down to the Internal Affairs, it's not really a good process for the citizens of how it's set up when you're going in, turning in your paperwork. It kind of just gets turned in and it gets pushed to the side and you really don't know what's going on. You have to have even lawyers to go further to see what's really going on, which a lot of citizens don't even have the money to even deal with that. So basically you get thrown to the wayside.
Mayor Houston.
In terms of the Inspector General, it really comes down to a matter of prioritizing what your needs are. Within our corporate fund this year, we're expecting revenues of about $118 million. We have submitted a budget that has expenditures of $118 million. We have not included money in that budget for an Inspector General. If members of the City Council want to create the permanent Inspector General position, they are going to have to look at the dollars to come up to do that. I think at this time, given the needs of the city of Springfield, I would not be comfortable in taking dollar amounts that probably are in the $300,000 to $500,000 a year range to fund an Inspector General. I think that we can continue to live without an Inspector General. If we were in an ideal world where money was no problem, it would be fine.
Alderman Simpson.
Thank you. Under a Simpson administration, there would be no need for an Inspector General because under a Simpson administration, employees would feel comfortable presenting any issues that they had with regard to another employee, with regards to a supervisor, bringing that directly to the mayor's office. However, as we currently sit, and in prior administrations, there definitely was a need because employees did not feel that they could take issues to the administration. Even this current administration, I get anonymous letters all the time from employees that say, we've got an employee who doesn't come to work, management doesn't say anything about it. Those kind of issues need to be addressed, but if employees don't feel comfortable taking that information to their superiors, then you've got a problem. Then there is indeed a need for an Inspector General.
And finally, Auditor Palazzolo.
I do not believe that the expenditures are necessary for an Inspector General. Serving as mayor, employees will be very comfortable on the team, and my leadership style, my team building style is to visit and management by walking around is the term that's used, and engage on a weekly basis, an annual basis with the team members of the city government. I believe that dollar amount is more wisely used for funding a city planner. I think the funds for a city planner is a proactive approach, whereas an Inspector General is a reactive response. And a city planner will help us move our city forward, to help bring jobs back to the city, to help us elevate our ability to attract new businesses and customers and residents to the city of Springfield. And that's where I believe those dollars can be more effectively spent rather than a reactive proposal. We are what would be the only city our size outside of Chicago with an Inspector General, but we're the only city outside of Chicago that doesn't have a city planner.
With the okay of the radio station involved, I think we've got one more question before closings. But to Samuel Johnson, Springfield has 520 video gaming terminals at the end of 2014, or had, generating just over $1 million in revenue for city coffers last year. What do you think of those figures, and are you in favor of expanding or restricting gaming licenses in the city?
I would have to say that depending on what the people want, that's the direction I would go into. Me personally, I see what a lot of the gaming does to people's lives, families' lives, of losing money and things like that. I would have for me to go in that direction. It depends on what the people of Springfield will want. If I would want to expand on that, I'm not too much of a big fan on gambling.
Mayor Houston?
In the state of Illinois, video gambling is something that is legal. Given the popularity of it in the city of Springfield, there's no question that the people of the community are playing it, using it. In As I look at it, it's a free market situation that supply and demand will work itself out. What we are using those dollars for, by the way, is infrastructure, and that all of the dollars that are generated from that will go into our streets program.
Alderman Simpson.
The council put in place a vehicle by which we reduce, slow down the proliferation of gaming parlors. So now 60% of the revenue has to come from food. And I think people find that a lot more difficult to do in terms of these gaming terminals. However, I don't believe that all business is good business. Therefore, I would even work harder to slow the growth of these terminals. Yes, the money is going to be used for infrastructure, but again, all business is not good business.
Auditor Palazzolo.
Regulate the arena to ensure that there are no nefarious activities, but let the market determine the expansion or the restriction.
And Treasurer Langfelder.
When video gaming was first introduced, I thought it would just be in bars, establishments for 21-year-olds. But now you can drive anywhere and you see video gaming all over the place. I don't think that's the community reflection that we want. I'm not in favor of expanding video gaming. I had a friend that was addicted to video gaming, and it's devastating because you only have so much money. They were spending their entire paycheck on video gambling. And so if you're spending your paycheck on that, that takes away food from the table or sales tax dollars. But I think the expansion is not good for Springfield.
Candidates, with your consent, we're going to actually ask a couple of more questions, take this up until 7:30 with your permission, so we'll turn it back over to Jay Belinsky for the next question.
Do we get a vote?
Okay, we're back to Mayor Houston with this question. Are there any city services currently being provided that you would consider eliminating? And also, do you see any opportunities for consolidating government services?
As we look at eliminating services in city government, I am not aware of any services we're currently providing that we would look to eliminate. As we look at the possible consolidation of services, I think we always want to be aware of ways to be able to save money. We are currently looking at the sewer situation with the sanitary district to see what type of efficiencies might be able to be generated as a result of that. But as you look at those types of consolidations, you have to have real savings in order to be able to implement them. And you also want to be ensured that you can continue to have a high level of service.
Alderman Simpson.
Springfield is the capital of Illinois, and I'm not in favor of eliminating any services that the city currently provides. I'd like to incorporate the park police into the city of Springfield, but that wasn't the question. I am not in favor, again, of diluting our power and our resources. So therefore, no, I can't think of any services that I will eliminate from the city.
Okay. Mr. Palazzolo.
We always have to have the conversation about ways to make things better. And if there are some hints and ideas that we can glean from the work of the Citizens Efficiency Commission, a lot of individuals have worked hard on some of those proposals. I think we need to look at those and see if they are of value to the city of Springfield and some of the surrounding entities that the Citizens Efficiency Commission examined. We always have to be open to improving services and making sure that we're providing value for the taxpayer dollar. And so I would be in favor of reviewing all of the opportunities that come forward and seeing if we can indeed maximize what we provide to the citizens of Springfield.
Treasurer Langfelder.
As mayor, I would review city services to make sure we're providing services to the public as efficiently as possible. One area that I believe needs to be streamlined is CWLP's services to the corporate fund. We need to make sure there's not duplication, and we need to maximize those services. And specifically, it's with regards to the Information Systems Division, which provides computer softwares to the city of Springfield throughout the corporate fund. I've been touting to get a centralized database for a long time whereby an individual would know what they owed the city. But unfortunately, there's departments that have their own computer network specialists, and what we should do in that arena is consolidate those particular services so we can be as efficient as possible and communicate technologically efficient throughout city government.
Samuel Johnson.
Just to go back on Ms. Simpson on what she had said, because I just want to make sure I wasn't wrong, or if the State Journal Register was wrong, where I see that it was reported that it was an 86.6 million program, street sidewalks, traffic signals, continuing the 60 million 10-year program. I'm sorry, I was off. It was $146 million, not 140, to make it correct. Before I do away with any programs, I think it would be common sense to make sure that we look to see what needs to be done away with first. I wouldn't just cut any program, especially not knowing what harm it would do. So that wouldn't be correct or appropriate for me to say that right now. But I would have to look at the programs first and see if any services need to be cut, what's helping and what's not helping.
A recurring theme in Springfield is the issue of inequality, real or perceived, in areas such as the police's relationship with the community, city government hiring, and economic opportunity in general. What would you do to ensure that everyone participates fully in both the benefits and the responsibilities of living in Springfield? First to Alderman Simpson.
City government should be fair and equitable. It should mirror the community, and it currently doesn't. I'm not saying that city government should be the hiring force for the city, because that's not the case. We need to provide job creation throughout the city. However, 90% Caucasian employees in the city government is not good. It's not good anywhere. When you have close to 18% minorities in the city of Springfield, when you have even higher percentage of women, the city government needs to be reflective of that. The question was two-parted, and I don't have enough time to answer it all.
Auditor Palazzolo?
I believe that we need to build and lead with relationships that are founded in trust. I am a huge fan of Hanson Engineering's Grow Our Own program, and I believe that we can use that as a template for not only professions that are outside of the government arena, such as accountancy and medical services. I think that we can apply the template to municipal government, law enforcement, and fire protection as well. And so I believe we need to, that's a long-term effort because that helps minorities of a younger age, but we also need to look at ways that we can attract additional individuals to the city of Springfield to be a part of municipal government. As a leader and as mayor, you have to encourage the city of Springfield and lead the city of Springfield to be an extremely attractive location where we can bring individuals to want to work and live in the city of Springfield.
Treasurer Langfelder.
Whether it's real or perceived, we must portray fairness within city government. What I would do is analyze the application and testing process for firemen and also police, and make sure that they are fair. If we're not receiving the number of minority applicants, or they're not being approved, and meeting the percentages that we believe we should be meeting, we need to analyze that process. Secondly, I would implement an anti-discrimination review system. I did this in banking with loan applications. It worked the same with job applicants. If a non-minority applicant is going to be offered a job and there's a similar minority applicant with similar qualifications, we would have a review process to make sure that they were treated equally. And then I would establish a school-to-work partnership like I did with Lampier High School in banking and show students the various jobs in city government that we have: police, fire, public works, as well as CWLP and the utilities. And lastly, I would institute a labor review process to ensure contractors and labor unions are fulfilling their minority
Time is up.
applicants.
Thank you. Samuel Johnson.
The biggest problem with this situation that we're talking about is the systematic structure. The systematic structure is so strong in how it's put together that a person really can't see what's going on. You have different cultures who don't identify with each other, so we act towards each other in certain ways that harms each other through discrimination, through hiring, and through fair practices. This has been going on for years. The city, as of now, has a little over 1,400 jobs with the city. Of that, you only have 118 that are black. That's 8.22%. In the District 186, they have a little over 2,000 jobs, and you only have 313 people that work in there, which majority of those jobs are people that are at the very low bottom. Even if you look into the medical center, you will see that there is a disadvantage of disproportional numbers in that category as well. It's a systematic structure that the only way we can deal with is through policy and legislation. If we're not willing to deal with it through policy and legislation, then we're just wasting our time.
Mayor Houston.
Well, as we take a look at the city of Springfield, what we try to do is provide equal services to everyone within the community. In terms of hiring, I would point out that for the 4-year period that I've been in office from May of 2011 until through December of 2014, 20.2% of all our hires were non-white. 16.8% were African American. If we take out the tested positions during that 4-year period, 24% of all hires in the city of Springfield were non-white and 21% were African American. Yes, we have a small percentage of our workforce that is African American, but I would point out that I took office in May of 2011. In June of 2011, that number was 7.8%. In June of 2014, that number is 9.7%. It's still a low number, but it's progress.
Candidates, again, thank you all for taking part this evening. We very much appreciate your participation. It is time now for closing statements. We will go in the same order that we had opening statements, starting with Mayor Mike Houston.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to share the reasons why I want to continue to serve as mayor. I don't need to remind you of my record. In fact, no one disputes my record. No one disputes I've turned around city finances. No one disputes I've returned professionalism to city management. No one disputes the infrastructure programs I've set in place to make this city more livable and more workable. No one disputes that jobs are coming back, and we have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the state. I don't just have a vision for Springfield. Part of my job is creating that vision for the city right now. My vision for Springfield is one of a work in progress, and I'm asking for the opportunity to finish the work I have started. I am a proven leader with a proven record. My opponents say that they can do what I've been doing, but can they really? As mayor, I will continue to do what we've got to do. We need to continue to rebuild our streets, sidewalks, and sewers. We need to care for the most vulnerable in our community, improve our safety, keep our cost of living low, and create a great economy in Springfield so that everyone who wants a job can have many to choose from. There's more work to be done, and that's why I need your support and vote one more time to keep the momentum going. I am Mayor Mike Houston, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you.
Alderman Gail Simpson, your closing remarks.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you this evening. We have to understand what this election is about. It's not about us up here as individuals. This election is about people, the citizens of Springfield, who are not experiencing everything that that Mayor Houston has said that he's done. When you have homeless students, over 700, that means that their parents are homeless too. They don't have jobs that they can go to. That means job creation. We need to make sure that we've developed an economic development system that allows for job creation. We cannot keep doing what we're doing, electing the same people and expecting a different result. We're not going to get that result. We have to stimulate economic growth in Springfield by attracting small businesses, by enhancing and expanding Springfield's economy. We have to do that. It's important that people feel connected to this city so that they become involved and want to participate and understand why we do the things that we do in this city. That takes a strong mayor who is reachable, compassionate, and understands that it's not just about the bottom line, it's about people.
County Auditor Paul Palazzolo.
Thanks to my fellow candidates and to the State Journal Register and Midwest Family Broadcasting for the opportunity tonight. And I'm humbly offering myself as a candidate with a record of results and a record of leadership. In this campaign, I've been working hard to lead the conversation on a number of issues that are facing our great city. I've led the conversation when it comes to infrastructure. I've talked about the need to put a laser focus on finishing the 11th Street corridor, connecting the educational center of our city with downtown Springfield. I've led the conversation about the infrastructure of 21st century broadband that can be helpful to business and blossoming for the future in the city of Springfield. I've led the conversation about CWLP and keeping it the crown jewel, and most importantly, keeping rates low for current businesses and potential businesses and current customers and potential customers. I've led the conversation on openness and transparency, using ideas that involve ward walks, where the mayor and the team would immerse themselves into each ward on an annual basis and see what needs exist on a first-hand level. I've talked about leading the conversation, most importantly, when it comes to economic development, shepherding new businesses through the regulatory process and attracting new innovators and entrepreneurs to the city through incubators. I'd like to be able to provide the leadership that we need to take Springfield into its next chapter for the future, and I'd encourage your vote for Paul Palazzolo on February 24th.
Springfield City Treasurer Jim Langfelder.
Thank you, State Journal Register and WMAY for hosting our forum. This election is about Springfield's future. Do we continue down the same road with things as they are, or do we challenge ourselves and our community to aspire to be the best, to be the model city? Springfield is a good community. That is why I chose Springfield to raise my family, and I worked my way through Lincoln Land Community College and Sangamon State University. However, Springfield is at a crossroad. The current state of our city is not good enough. Springfield can and must do better. I want to be your mayor because I want our community to unite so we can thrive together. As mayor, I will build the level of trust with the city council and the public so we all work together to do what is best for Springfield. Springfield is home to our greatest president, Abraham Lincoln, and we should challenge ourselves and our community to aspire to his vision. Under a Langfelder administration, Springfield will strive to be the model city, especially with race relations, economic development, CWLP, and most importantly, trust in our city government. As your next mayor, the culture and mission of the Langfelder administration will be openness, integrity, and doing what's best for Springfield. I'm Jim Langfelder, and I would appreciate your vote in the city's nonpartisan election so we all can thrive together. Thank you.
Our final closing statement comes from Samuel Johnson.
Thank you for everybody in attendance and everybody that is listening. This race is definitely about us as people and us as a city. What are we willing to do? What are we willing to sacrifice? Who are we willing to help and who are we willing not to help? For decades, we have been doing the same thing in the political arena over and over, to where prosperity has went to certain areas, certain groups, certain sides of town. In order for a city to move forward in true equality, you have to be able to help everybody. You have to be able to put efforts towards everybody so everybody can have a chance. If everybody has a chance and have an opportunity to some type of equality, you get prosperity, true prosperity within a city. If we're not willing to do that, then we're not willing to do true equality. We should take equality out of our definition, we should take it out of our vocab, and we should definitely take it off our literature that we have within our city. We are at a point right now, definitely at a crossroad, that our city has to come together for the best interest in the future to have true equality for everybody, and that is how we fix anything that we attempt to try to fix, anything that we try to do. We have to bring our cultures together. We have to be able to show other cities that we are a city unlike any other city, so that people can be able to follow and do and be influenced what our city does in Springfield, Illinois, because we are the household city of the state of Illinois.
Please join me in a big round of applause for our candidates. Candidates, thank you for participating tonight. Please note, WMAY and the SJR plan on holding a March debate between the two candidates advancing in the April 7th general election. Please stay tuned, more details on that. You can find a replay of tonight's broadcast on WMAY and the SJR.com. Again, February 24th, please exercise your right and come out and vote.
If you'd like to join us in the Community Unity Room,